Now on to a new topic, world models and agents. The definition of an agent is an entity that has goals, has a way of sensing the world, and has a way of making changes to the world to try to achieve those goals. By that definition, human beings like me are agents. I can sense the world, I can change the world, and I have goals in the world. Now, a control system theorem from 1970 states that every good regulator of a system must be a model of that system. Now, a regulator here is an agent, and the system is the world that the agent is trying to make changes in. And so this would say that every good agent needs a model of the world. So my human being here must have a model of the world where I've got a kind of a one-to-one mapping between what's out there in the world and my model of the world here inside my brain. Now, a human being has a body which is also part of the world, and so I have to also have a model of my body. And I call that the self-model. It's the self-model of the human. If the agent is part of the world that it's making changes in, it will need to have a self-model to model itself in that world. Now the question is, do we live in the world directly, or do we live in our model of the world? Are we self-models living in a model of the world? If you look at the body, that doesn't help you because the body and the world is the same as the model of the body and the model of the world. They're basically equivalent. So that won't answer this question. However, the conceptual self, the I, me, my, that only exists in my conceptual model of the world. There is no physical object out there in the world that corresponds to that concept. So that would say that we are human self-models living in a model of the world. That might not convince you, so let me ask you a different question. Do we experience the world directly, or are we self-models experiencing our model of the world? Colors can help answer that question. The way colors work is that there are three kinds of photoreceptors in the retina that take essentially three black and white images in red, green, and blue, and that's the information that's sent to the brain. So the brain takes those three black and white images and constructs this. The colors that you see there do not exist out in the world. They only exist in our model of the world. There is no such property as a redness that comes on that red photon that's coming in from the red there. There's no physical property of redness there. So this is constructed by our brain to help us live better in this world. Furthermore, what we experience is not what we perceive. And in the visual realm, I'm talking about perception as being the information that the eye sends to the brain. That's our perception of the world. But that's not what we experience, and the reason for that is that peripheral visual acuity drops very rapidly with angle. So if you have 20/20 vision in the center of vision here, if you go off to the axis here, the acuity drops off dramatically. And out here, you're legally blind. And in addition to that, there's a blind spot where you don't see anything at all in each eye. And you can show that yourself here by looking at my face, and hopefully you can see my eyes, my ears, my mouth. And if you have good acuity, you might be able to actually see my glasses. And now if you look off 45 degrees away from me and try to use your peripheral visual attention to see what my face looks like, I bet you just see a blob. You don't actually see eyes, nose, mouth, or anything like that. That shows how much the visual acuity has dropped off with angle. And yet, when we look out at the world, we experience something like this. So if you keep your center of vision on that center house there, all the other houses still look like they're crisp and in focus. And in fact, if you go beyond the screen, things look like they're crisp and in focus. Your experience of them is that they are crisp and in focus, even though your eye is telling you a blurry image there. So what the eye is sending to the brain is something more like this. And in addition, there's the blind spot. Now you might say we don't see the blind spot because it's in different positions in the two eyes. But if you close one eye, you still don't see the blind spot. The blind spot is completely invisible. And the reason for all this is that what we experience is the world model that we've constructed in our brain. We are experiencing the world model as we live our life here. Another example of this is rapid eye saccades. A saccade is where your eyes have one focus point and they're going to go to another focus point and they rapidly move from one to the other. It turns out that during that rapid motion there, the brain actually shuts off all visual perception. You're actually blind during the period of time when the eyes are moving. And you can demonstrate this at home if you stand in front of your bathroom mirror and change your fixation point from your left eye to your right eye to your left eye. What you'll see is completely stationary eyes. You'll never catch the eye moving if you do that. So that's showing you that during that time the eye is moving, you're blind. And yet, the big thing is, why does the world not shift when you're moving your eye like that? Because the image that's coming in on the retina is completely different when you shift your fixation point to a different point. Why doesn't the world seem to jump when you do that? The reason why the world doesn't jump is because you are perceiving your model of the world. You are not perceiving the actual world that's coming in through your eyes. So this shows you all that perception is not what we're seeing. And what we see is the model of the world. So the bottom line is that we are a self-model living in and experiencing our model of the world. That's what human beings are.